Welcome back. I'm Alfred Lamont Weber, and it gives me great pleasure to present a colleague on the positive timeline, Karen Holton. And we're now going to launch into part 2 of the program that we were offering. And so, Karen, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Alfred. I want to start, I'm going to screen share and have a bit of a, I'm going to give you some excerpts from the program that I did with Forbidden Knowledge NewsCon, because this information is so big, I can end up going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole, and I want to try to keep it coherent so that you, the audience, get more information, and it's just laid out more systematic. But before I start, I would really like to take a minute and thank a few people. I am overwhelmed with the support I have received from the viewers of this channel. Thank you so much. I want to thank Joan from New Zealand, Annette from Australia, Megan from Georgia in the USA, and Lorna from Ontario in Canada. I appreciate your support so much and your faith in me. It's just been wonderful. I also want to thank Karen McDonald, who's been telling people about my work, and that's resulted in me receiving several letters from different people who are so happy to find my information, and I've been writing and corresponding with them. And I also want to thank all the subscribers to my YouTube channel, and I'm just overwhelmed with the kindness, absolute kindness and support from the viewers, and I just want you to know how much it means to me. And that's sort of what I want to say. I'm going to now launch into a screen share, and we're going to talk about the Intergalactic Resettlement Program, how I got started, the basics about it, and I think without further ado, I just need to go to screen share here. There we are. Share. Okay. Can you see that okay, Alfred?
Yes, we can see it just fine. Thank you.
Okay, so again, this is taken from the Forbidden Knowledge NewsCon 2020, and it's a presentation that I did. And we'll start with the introduction. My name is Karen Holton, and I'm here today to tell you about my paranormal experiences and to introduce you to the Intergalactic Resettlement Program. Now, the images are provided by Marco Antonio Calle, and he's also known as VERA OFFWORLDS on social media, and they're provided for illustration purposes only. They do not reflect my actual experience. So I just want you to know that right off the top. So in 2017, my guides told me that it was time to come out of the closet and make public my experiences and knowledge about the Intergalactic Resettlement Program. My memories have spontaneously unfolded without hypnosis or regression therapy. They emerged slowly as I became more public with my experiences, but I still don't have full recall. So I just remember what I remember. I did not learn about this phenomena from research or books. I have reading comprehension issues, so I have read actually very few science fiction novels, and I'm only speaking from my own experience, and this is not based on anybody else's work. And I do not represent the beings from the Intergalactic Resettlement Program in any way, and I am not their spokesperson or the grand poobah or anything like that. I only speak to what I know and what I experience. Many of us have these experiences, but most people do not remember. Further, I do not have language for all of my experiences, but have chosen best as I can to relate my experiences, concepts, etc. in common English. I have been encouraged to provide information so that people can make up their own minds about the options that they may choose from for dealing with future world events. The Intergalactic Resettlement Program may become an option when our physical planet is in crisis or transitioning, and it's not safe to live here anymore. I am not part of any earth-based group, religion, or philosophy, and I'm not part of the secret space program. There's nothing to be afraid of because these are absolutely benevolent beings. They have a do no harm mandate, and they do not interfere with human free will. They may become involved when we ask for help and prove that we are serious by altering our lifestyle and thinking so that we can hold sufficient frequency for contact. When the student is ready, the master appears. Depending on how ready we are and how open-minded we are, etc., then appropriate contact can begin. I do not know species or racial names, planet names, or group names, and my ET friends are not from any specific star system. This is an unorganized, frequency-based movement, and when we're ready, contact commences. On Earth, there are millions of us who share in this work, and I was delighted to find out that I am not alone, and that my experiences are not unique. It's the policy of this ET group to wipe our memories before we return, so that we can remain embedded into the Earth social political construct for soul development. Even today, many humans have their rights violated as they are diagnosed with mental illness labels when they go public with their ET experiences. In the 1980s, the medical industry switched from physical lobotomies to chemical, and this practice is one of the things that has held back the spiritual and intergalactic progress of our species. According to the NRP.org, about 50,000 people received lobotomies in the United States. About 10,000 of these procedures were transorbital lobotomies. The rest were mostly prefrontal lobotomies. A man by the name of Walter Freeman performed about 3,500 lobotomies during his career, of which 2,500 were his ice pick procedure. In the 1980s, they replaced this procedure with antipsychotic drugs and other pharmaceuticals. So quite literally, people who started talking about their paranormal experiences could have a loved one with the best of intentions take that person to the doctor and go, I'm really worried about their mental health. And the next thing you know, these people were getting these lobotomies that destroyed parts of their brains so that it was more difficult for them to hold the frequency and make contact. A lot of people don't know about this. This went on till well into the 1980s. And of course, you know, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't take your meds, but I am saying that it's held us back quite significantly. ET contact is still considered extreme mental deviance, and so disclosure is often met with stigma, ridicule, and psychotropic medications, which cause chemical lobotomization. So I would like to talk a little bit about my background. I'm going to actually skip through this. It's way too more information than what we have time for me to share today. But I will talk about my adult contact. Once I was in my 20s, I joined fundamentalist Christian religion. I got married, had babies, and I attempted to have a normal life. I was looking for truth everywhere but within. I saw so much hypocrisy. Due to stigma and ignorance, it was not safe for me to tell the truth about my experiences. I even got confused as to whether I was imagining things as I embedded myself into a fundamentalist religion that taught that this was the work of the devil. I actually developed significant health issues from keeping this part of me suppressed. After I left religion in the 1990s, I realized that there was so much supportive evidence that there was no way I could have imagined it all. And this led to a personal crisis. So this is really common for people because, you know, we kind of sort of keep half of our thinking, oh, maybe it's not real or whatever. And when we're faced with the reality of these experiences, boy, it really shakes up our psychology and our paradigm. So what happened also at the same time was I was imprinted by the spirit of a man who had killed himself while he was living in the house that I was now renting. And I was about to off myself, and this led to my angelic experience, which changed my life forever. I had what I call an explosive vision. Nothing blew up, but it was just huge and so significant and so visual. And I heard one voice which sounded like 1,000 voices, all speaking in harmony all at once. And Gabriel, the archangel, came to me and really woke me up. And it was then that I realized that we have tremendous value. And this is why angels are so interested in us. We are deeply loved and cherished. I learned that in the angelic realms, they love us unconditionally, and there's nothing we can do to change this. All we have to do is have a willing spirit and make first contact. And at that level, all parts of our life journey are sacred and fuel for soul evolution. We are intimately known, and nothing is hidden from these ones. So Gabriel told me that I could die if I wished to, but if I wanted to stay, they would give me a helper. And I actually had to think about that for a few days because, come on, who gets gifts offered by angels? Like, this was huge. I didn't want to screw it up. So I thought about it for a few days, and then I decided on my gift and I asked for wisdom. And I could have had anything I wanted, but I wanted wisdom. I knew I'd need it. And I found that angels are incredibly merciful. So this led to much challenge and inspiration, but throughout it all, I was never alone. I was able to complete a university degree as a straight A student in 2004, even though I have very poor reading comprehension. It's actually really funny. My guides told me to sleep with my textbooks under my bed or under my pillow, and I did. And I would read my lessons before class, but they didn't mean anything to me. I didn't generate any visual pictures. I always need, visual and action for me to really learn. But I'd sleep on my books, and the next day I would go to class, and I would know the answers to just about everything. It kept blowing me away because I've never ever had that experience before. So that's just one way that to give you an example of how I was helped with that. I've always been connected to my guides, and of course, especially today. I work for Archangel Gabriel since then, from December 21st to March 21st each year, fulfilling missions and completing exercises for soul development. And an example of missions is just to go out and do something, and it actually affects the timeline. So it's very cool how it works. And I don't know all the details of how it works. It's just like, for instance, I may be told to get up and go to a certain place, and I go there, and here's some person crying their eyes out, and I ask them if they need a hug, and I give them a big hug, and they feel better, and I feel fine, and I go home. But I know I've altered the timeline by going out and doing that. So it's really kind of neat. It's just really kind of neat. It's always different. So then about 2010, I started to get ET messages again, and my gut told me that these beings were good. And I just knew that contact agreed with my pre-birth life agreements, and that I had set up before I was born. I also believe that I have extensive contact with these beings beyond my 3D body. My higher self makes contact with and without my awareness. Lucid dreams with remote viewing are a regular feature of my contact experience. Sometimes I get spontaneous knowing and downloads. It takes seconds to receive a download, but it takes time to unwrap and synthesize the data. So these dates are general because I had so much going on I may be a year off here or there, don't hold me to it, but this will give you the gist. So in 2012, I received the call to level up and notice Earth changes, physical, political, and spiritual. In 2013, I received a download and began using the Nubby Ball tool, which is part of the step 9 of the Quantum Health Transformation Program. In 2014, I received the rest of the Quantum Health Transformation download. In 2015, I became aware of some ongoing intergalactic work that I was doing. And I did not travel there physically. I remained in my bed sleeping, but my consciousness was definitely transported to the big ship each night. And there's a real time differential that I cannot explain, but I'll just tell you how I experienced it. So I was taken every night for about 3 months, but I experienced it for more like 3 years. Time is different there. They're not bound by rotation of a planet around a sun, you know, that creates our perceived idea of time. And there are times when I'm also outside of my physical existence, where time and distance just don't exist. So it makes sense that I was returned before waking up in the morning, even though I experienced being gone for weeks. And I have no physical proof, but I have some pretty vivid memories. And after this, I began to do more research, and I found out about Dr. Stephen Greer's CE5 movement via YouTube back in about 2015. And I was greatly encouraged by Paul Hellyer and the Disclosure Conference, which I saw on YouTube also about the same time. And as a result, I started to meditate and to reach out for more contact. I'm just going to skip over my real-time sightings and get to Bob the Gray. I did talk a little bit about Bob last time, and he's just one example. He's not just my guide. He's always there for me, and he facilitates my lucid dreaming and my remote viewing, and he also helps trigger, well, I'll just read it, sorry. So Bob has been my friend since about 2014. He appears similar to a stereotypical gray, although I've never seen him physically face to face. He appears in my mind's eye or in my imagination. And we have a fairly consistent connection. Bob answers my questions, and he reveals details about the Intergalactic Resettlement Program by releasing my memories and or facilitating remote viewing sessions. Bob's got a sense of humor. Recently, I was taking a deeper look at him through the portal of my imagination, and he superimposed a great big toothy human smile onto his face, and it totally took me by surprise, and it made me laugh. And Bob has revealed to me that he and his kind wear contact lenses. Those would be actually contact lenses, not big black eyes, because they mask their true eyes, because for them, direct eye-to-eye contact is intimate, sacred, and personal. Another reason why he did that thing with the smile, he superimposed it on the image of himself so that that's what I would see. And it's because they don't want to scare us. They, especially me, they don't want to frighten me. They know I've been through a lot in my life, and they just do not want to do anything that might startle me or upset me, or, you know, they're always on the cautious side, which is very, very lovely. And Bob showed me that they use something that looks like kind of like a lounge or a dentist chair that they're in to make contact. And he doesn't have a name, but we agreed that I could call him Bob. And Bob's appropriation of our 20th century culture includes a passion for Frank Sinatra and Michael Jackson. I know this sounds ridiculous, but this is my experience. He's also a snappy dresser with black slacks and a black turtleneck sweater, and sometimes he wears a fedora just for fun. Now, I don't think he wears a literal fedora, although maybe he does, I don't know. But certainly every once in a while, he will be wearing it when I see him, and I'm seeing him through my mind's eye, and it always makes me laugh. He's just awesome. So we think sometimes of ETs to be really serious and unemotional, but that's not true, not in my experience. So I want to talk a little bit about my pre-birth agreements. So my life experiences prepared me for my work as a quantum mechanic. So just like, you know, you would take your car to an auto mechanic if you need something fixed. Well, we can be quantum mechanics. We're fixing the timelines because we have the power to do that. So I am what they would call a wide receiver, and my contacts also include interdimensionals, ETs, angels, and more. I can tap into whatever group or being has a job for me to do. And I'm not tied to anyone's specific off-world group or race. I am available to help out as needed by various groups and beings from many interdimensional realities. And basically, I work for Holy Spirit or universal consciousness. That's who I'm working for. because we're all being governed and guided by that. And I believe that our health, psychology, and spirituality must be upskilled and evolved in order to take part in full contact. And my higher purpose, which I'm very blessed to know my higher purpose. Many people don't know. If they knew it, kind of makes life way easier. And so my higher purpose is to anchor in the divine feminine and to help collapse, correct, and initiate new timelines. And for those of us who are doing this, the work is mostly unseen and unappreciated by our fellow Earth citizens. I work closely with what I would call the quantum field, or the holographic, or the morphogenic field, which I personally refer to as Mother Father, because I often just open myself to the field, and to me it is my true and highest Mother and Father. But I also work with the living Earth, and the Earth is absolutely conscious and living. It is just a beautiful, amazing support. Also my higher self, which is eighth dimensional. And I work with my soul team, which includes ETs, interdimensionals, angels, elementals, ancestors, and some disembodied Earth people. And the ET realms overlap with the angelic realms, and both operate within the love harmonic of the omniverse. So that's the background stuff, and it sort of explains what I'm going to tell you now. So do you have any questions, Alfred, or should I just motor on?
Well, I'm really looking forward to how did the Intergalactic Resettlement Program start, and by whom?
Oh, good. Okay. So my context is not nuts and bolts, and it's not religious. It's actually sociological and cultural. So there is a group, a federation of planets, or a galactic federation, that deals with our world leaders, but this is not that group. They started out as a rogue group who knew that negotiating with world leaders of dystopian planets rarely benefit the private citizens. So they work on an energy system. It's spiritual, and it's an ongoing program. They are not part of the secret space program, and this is only one of many possible resettlement programs. So there's all kinds of things going out in the galaxies, and much bigger than even this. So I just want you to know that. So the ET members of this group are unnamed, and we don't speak English. There are many different ET groups, and as far as I know, my group is not affiliated with any other group. Ship politics are anarchist and autonomous in nature. Intergalactic resettlement has been around for thousands of years, assisting many beings who face extinction level events. And this program is not specific to Earth. These beings also offer those of us who are ready a training program involving scientific expeditions to planets that will eventually be resettled. The planets that we visit have everything in perfect balance except for humanoids. They are not here to rescue us or solve our problems. They are waiting for us to solve our own problems, come into power, and begin a new way to operate here on Earth. We will eventually stand up for our personal and collective sovereignty and reject 3D constructs. Evolving Earth people are welcome to make personal contact. These beings make themselves available for near extinction or extinction level events to provide extraction. Planets are not the safest place to be. Extinction cycles are common. This is the 5th reseeding of Earth. And if we are faced with an extinction level event, we may be taken, and if so, we can take our loved ones with us if they wish to come with or wish to go. Further, we can also personally participate should we as a collective not come into our power and make the changes necessary to create heaven on Earth. Those who take responsibility for their own evolution will be offered a chance to resettle because they have skills and ways of being that have value to resettlement. Most people who have contact experiences similar to mine don't remember, but we're remembering more now because it's the time of the gathering, Alfred. The call has been put out there and many are recovering their experiences. We can develop our own psychic skills and call in our guides, angels, and other truth providers for assistance, and we must learn to do this. We can connect once we can hold sufficient frequency, which is also often referred to as leveling up or ascension or human evolution. There are many different languages and words and ways of seeing this that mean essentially the same thing. So we'll get on with what's the purpose of this program. See a guy hitchhiking here, trying to get on board. They offer a pre-settlement program, a resettlement program, and immigration to space life aboard city ships. There are also exopolitical ambassadorship positions, which may include downloading your Earth experiences into the data bank system. And as an ambassador, I also give reports and input from the human perspective, and for some reason, they value my perspective. These programs have been going on for thousands of years, and the resettlement program was set up because planets go through cycles and sometimes are not safe places to live. Natural disasters that destroy humanoid populations can include diseases, both man-made and natural, planetary changes and planetary evolution, culling, or the re-terraforming of the planet. And this group is not actually involved in any of those intrusive processes, but there is a lot of that going on. So when a planet is re-terraformed, it has everything we would expect to see on a healthy planet, including the animals and the bugs and the birds and the fish, plants, oceans, forests, etc., in perfect balance. And there are no humanoids. Everything is there for optimal success: food, plant medicines, and opportunities for education. And in the past, Earth was seeded several times by intergalactic resettlement programs. Off-world resettlement is done very differently than here on Earth, and I saw no evidence of colonialism. Sometimes humanoids are created and placed on worlds as intergalactic genetic experiments. But more often, and as my experience shows, beings start over and resettle because they want to. Sometimes their planets become inhospitable, or a social experiment needs a place to unfold, or something where the humanoids are already highly evolved and choose to be relocated. Often, temporary settlements are set up for diagnostic and training purposes, requiring hands-on or physical experience. This is when you're on the planet, by the way, not on the ship. And in this case, a quarantine is set up around the camp or the training area to protect the ecosystems and maintain balance and integrity. I did not personally interact with any wild animal species while participating in this work. And yes, I have done several trips preparing. Well, I'll get into that in a minute. So I expected that these beings would be so advanced that they wouldn't need to do hands-on stuff, but I found out that they want us to have that real physical experience so we can learn about the different worlds for ourselves. I don't think they need it, but we do. And we were split into teams. We were issued tablets, which were programmed to do specific jobs, and then we went down and we did real hands-on work. I felt like I was very physical during these experiences. I didn't feel like I was disembodied or astral traveling or remote viewing. I've also had experiences doing the ambassador work where I do not feel like I was in my body. Yeah, quite often I do it through a lucid dreaming, remote viewing type of scenario. There's no need to go there physically for those kind of meetings. But this was a really physical experience with the visits to the planets, eating foods and actually doing work. The planets we explored had everything needed for life and all kinds of life as we would expect, except no humanoids yet. Our mission involved finding the very best way to resettle without disrupting the harmony of the biosphere. While on the planets, we live very simply. Each group takes turns designing and putting up the habitat, sometimes small huts, sometimes cabins, and sometimes tents that we shared. Everything was very plain and utilitarian. Dwellings were made from the natural materials we found in the area, or we brought tents with us. And as mentioned before, we had to keep ourselves isolated from the animals. We ate local raw foods from the planet, and I remember one time I was helping unload one of the small anti-grav pickup trucks, which had an assortment of wild raw fruits and vegetables from the area. We took our meals together in a large tent. My favorite vegetable looked like a large, fresh, raw fig, as big as a watermelon, with a slight sweetness, and it was very juicy. It was soft, and it was very easy to digest. We are all vegan while on the big ship. Omnivore options are available once we settle on a specific planet permanently. All plants and animals used as food are raised with love before slaughter. This might sound strange, but we make arrangements with the plants and animals we plan to eat and recognize their sacred gift. Also, we would not be gluttons if we raise and if we love our food. As above, so below. There is no one way of eating that makes sense to all beings. There are three primary purposes for all food, plant or animal, and those purposes are to reproduce, to add to the balance and harmony of the planet, and to serve as food for other beings. From one mission, I remember bathing in some natural springs that issued forth from rock cavities in the side of the mountain. You know, we worked pretty hard. And it was really nice to kick back in the evening. We were relaxing after a busy day of work, and as we relaxed in the water, there were two beautiful moons in the sky. It was very peaceful and enjoyable. And since the moons were not superimposed, we tried to guess which one was closer. One of them was larger and it rotated very slowly, and the other one was smaller and rotated a little bit faster. And overall, the work was actually not that interesting. We just gathered data, scanned plants and bugs, etc., used our tablets, and worked quietly together. Later, when back on the big ship, the data was integrated into a holographic representation, and we used it to learn more about how the biological systems on the planet were interconnected and interdependent. So this is a bit of a weird experience, and I can't really explain it, but I'm going to tell you about it. And this picture is just an illustration just to keep it more interesting. I had an interesting experience during one of my trips to a planet. And while I was there, we stayed in small wooden cabins. And the next day we were walking through the woods, and the trees were very tall, and the bark is very dark brown, almost black. And the foliage only grew at the very, very top of the trees, and the leaves were green. I saw a small creature fly past me, and I thought it was a giant butterfly. And this is strange because we're quarantined from the animals. But it had sort of thin iridescent wings like a butterfly. Later, when we were returning from work, I heard something cry out from a treetop, and I looked up, and it was the same small little creature, and it appeared to be in some kind of distress. So I held out my arms and I called to it, and it fluttered down into my arms, and it seemed very relieved, and I carried it in my arms back to the cabin, and it fell asleep, so I just gently laid it on a cot. It looked sort of halfway between a cat and a monkey, and most of the animals normally found on these planets are very similar to the ones on Earth, with only minor differences. But this one was quite unique, and this creature was out of place. And I thought it might be a lost pet. I don't know. I honestly don't know the backstory. That is all I remember, but I really remember it. So in addition to that, we were never fearful. We felt safe while we were there. We endeavored to just collect data and not interfere with the animals. And this was not about taking a vacation or sightseeing. I did this work for parts of 3 months of our Earth time. Excuse me, I'm just gonna have a drink. So now you're probably wondering, what is ET like? Well, the beings are just ahead of humans in their evolutionary process. They are at our next stage of development. They look like us, but they're healthier, they're smarter, they're better adjusted emotionally, they're braver and more spiritual, but not that far ahead. They are in every way more technologically advanced, though. Most are taller, but some are not. And these are our brothers and sisters and cousins. They look very much like the diversity that we see already on planet Earth. Intergalactically, we are all members of the same species, just different family lines or races. And all people born on Earth are of the human race. One big difference is that those beings live much longer than us, like really common, 500, even up to 1,000 years. They live a really long time. They're so super healthy and fit. It's pretty nice to actually witness what's possible. All breathe oxygenated air, eat food, sleep, but all have slightly different requirements. The exception are the aquatics, which I only saw once on one mission aboard the big ship. And aquatics are not actually aquatics because the fluid environment that they live in has the same oxygen content as our air. And it's not water. I don't know what it is. But many gas-breathing humanoids, like humans, can actually live for short periods of time in their liquid environment because our lungs can also act as gills. And they have slits instead of protruding nostrils. They have gill vents behind both ears. They're very handsome and attractive, and they're slight of build. And their feet are flatter than ours. And they have webbed toes and fingers. And they use their feet and their lower legs for propulsion. They don't walk. It's very cool to see. They just sort of raise their knees up and make circles with their feet in a certain way. And that just propels them however they want within their fluid environment. And they also have internal genitalia because the people that I saw were not wearing clothes. And there was also some short beings with beards who were close to 5 feet tall, who love to maintain physical contact with each other. They are very close and intimate with each other. And the females, surprise, surprise, have slightly more facial hair than the males. So in that way, they look a little bit different than most humans. But some of the other races are variegated in pigment, and some can cloak their appearance. So think of, we have certain lizards and things that can kind of pick up the color that they're around, and it makes them basically become invisible. Well, it's sort of the same thing. I don't know how it works, but it's pretty cool, and they can cloak their appearance. And some can rearrange their pigment for private or distant communication. I know this sounds really weird, but think about American Sign Language. If you were at a large gathering, there was someone on the other side, and you wanted to communicate with them privately, you could do it through sign language if the community you were with were hearing people and didn't know sign language. Well, it's kind of similar to that. They can actually rearrange some of their pigment to express themselves. So skin tone variations include all tones and shades of brown, off-white, pale blues, and even orange. Some beings are shorter, but most beings were taller than us with larger frames. Some have more hair and others not so much hair. Some were bald. Angelics, which again is not their real name, they look like perfect, beautiful, godlike beings to me. It was really hard not to stare because they're just so beautiful. And besides by location, clones are used for the transfer of our consciousness when experiencers require physicality. And there's 3 kinds of clones. There's the generic or one size fits all. And you can still tell people apart though because their personality comes out, their mannerisms and such. Then there's also the genetic copy, and there's also the utilitarian clone. So I'll talk more about that later. All beings which are part of this program look very much like us. They are our slightly more evolved brothers and sisters. Some are androgynous looking, and some are more obviously gendered. There's nothing to be afraid of. Earth people are more cruel and without a moral compass than our ET brothers and sisters. These are not the only beings out there, I've been told. This is sort of the tip of the intergalactic community. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be skipping over this later, so I'll just say it now. These beings, most of them have lived all their lives on the big ships, and they come from different star systems, and they come from even different galaxies, but they're on board and they're doing the work. And so there's a lot of partnering and reproducing. And so that's why they don't, I can't say, oh, they're from the Pleiades, or oh, they're from this, or they're from that. They're from all over the place. It's a pretty interesting intergalactic experience. So I just wanted to put that out there. Communication. We do not hold a conversation as we think of it. These beings have the ability to run thought privately or publicly and can involve just a select few when desired. Body language can be an indicator of a topic needing sharing. And we always psychically ask the other beings if we can share common or group or private consciousness before attempting to do so. And this is like a psychic handshake, and it also helps you to set up your boundaries because everybody is very respectful of boundaries. And once we're welcomed, then we share imaginings. It's like running short shared videos, and we all communicate on a psychic level. There's no talking. Communication is done by feeling, emoting, and imagining. And there's some gesturing, but some beings gesture more than others. And composites of energy, personality, and race are used instead of names to identify individuals. And I've been psychically known as, and I quote, impulsive, joyful, helper, human. That was my sort of name, which was actually just expressed more in a feeling than in a projected feeling than in an actual, because they don't think in English. They wouldn't use words. That wouldn't happen there. So this is important. Adults have the ability to psychically shield their young, which includes boundaries, until they're mature enough to do so for themselves. And I thought that was pretty amazing. And boy, wouldn't parenting ever go up a notch if we could do that with our children. So I want to talk a little bit about their culture. And their culture is love-based with emphasis on compassion, empathy, mercy, and is a feeling-based community rather than a word exchange or speaking community. There is no deception, no bullying, and no competition, unless it's, playful playing, then there is some. And they've never been brainwashed, and they're totally free beings. The culture is very peaceful with no drama. Different beings within this group are at different levels of awareness and technology. Everything is harm reduction and based on love. No one intends to harm, frighten, or dominate. These are human ways. The economic system within the ship is resource/trade based. Many have similar cultures to ours, but they're much freer and more respectful. There's no stress, there's no conflict. We all respect that we all have free will and free choice. Sexual behavior is just as natural as eating and sleeping, and on the big ship, the environment is sex positive. That actually surprised me. And there are many interracial relationships, social, romantic, sexual, and reproductive. And some things are universal, like the love for a newborn baby, the desire for community and celebration, and sex. So I'm going to skip over some of the details about the ship. I know everyone's probably curious to know more, but I will tell you how you can actually get a hold of this presentation. You can have your own copy near the end here. But I want to just skip down to what they think about us. Oh yeah, there's also the orientation process, but we don't really have time to get into that today. Everyday life on the big ship, sex, love, and reproduction, which are not necessarily connected to each other. It's quite interesting. What do they think about us? Okay, most beings on ship are not necessarily concerned with Earth. People who live on the big ships do not think about or talk about humans and Earth affairs. Our current situation would be disturbing to them and even abhorrent. Now, this is separate from the ambassador work. The ambassador work, there is some awareness and some discussion, of course, but I'm just talking about the general people that live on the ship here. So to sum things up, I'm going to use a metaphor. There is a movie called The Village that came out in 2004 by M. Night Shyamalan, and it's just excellent for sort of explaining our place among the intergalactic family. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, I'm just going to give you a really quick rundown of it. So in this story, there is a constructed village with stories about a dangerous monster meant to keep people from straying outside of their village. Every once in a while, someone would put on a scary costume and frighten the hell out of the residents. And the purpose was to maintain the purity of the culture and get residents to obey restrictions and boundaries and curfews. Now, near the end of the show, we find out that this village is embedded into a mainstream area with nearby towns and communities who know nothing of the residents within the constructed village. They go about their daily affairs oblivious to the preserved culture within the village, and the villagers within the construct know nothing of the others. One day, one of the villagers strays outside of the boundaries and finds the mainstream people who don't look scary or fearsome at all, and there was no monsters. So this is very much like my experiences with ET. ETs look very much like us. They're healthier, they're stronger, they're wiser, they're more technologically advanced, and they're more spiritual than us, but that's about it. ET is going about his or her business with no thought of us. Most times they don't even know that we're here. And I'm like the person who strayed from the village and found out that there was all kinds of beings out there. And it in my humble opinion, or in my own opinion, I think it's a bit terrible that some humans, I'm not saying that all bad ET experiences aren't real or that they're human initiated. I don't know. They might be real, might not, I don't know. But it is terrible that there are humans who want to scare the hell out of us with stories about off-world monsters to keep us trapped and compliant within the company line. Those who create and maintain this construct are religions, governments, economies, and elites. And I believe that a false invasion is planned, but according to my experience, the last thing these highly evolved people would think of is to come down and mess with our livestock or conduct cruel experiments on us. Humans have, though, been spirited away to train and work towards common goals, and people, that would be people like me. So I'm not going to talk too much about how to prepare, but I will say that we must try to step outside of the construct and stop thinking in human-centric terms. These are free people and have been free for thousands of years, maybe more. Their thinking, culture, health, and evolution is free from artificial constructs. And our norms of war, poverty, crime, and illness would be very disturbing to them and foreign. And this is why they're not going to swoop in here and just rescue everybody. We have to overcome the infection of our dysfunctional beliefs and thinking. We must evolve to the point where we can connect with them through universal consciousness. So it basically requires a spiritual approach, and I explained a little bit in my presentation why I think I'm able to make such incredible contact. Last time we talked about the quantum health transformation, and I just want to read a little bit more as it ties in. So I received this download as a packet all at once, and it was a little overwhelming because it's a lot of information. And I had to downstep it from the abstract down to the 3D and put it into language that everyone could grasp. And it took me months to produce the information in universal terms. And I also made sure that it was demystified so that it was easy for everyone to understand, and it was not shrouded in mystery or require arcane knowledge in order to comprehend it. And I arranged it, as I explained in more detail in the last part one that we did together, Alfred. I arranged the data into 9 steps presented in reverse order. Steps 9, 8, and 7 are about opening the mind and thinking on a quantum level so that our awareness can expand. Steps 6, 5, and 4 are detoxification, external, internal, emotional, and very important aspect is how to detoxify from the construct. And steps 3, 2, and 1 are skill building with ascension tools. And this online course is absolutely free and shareable. Last time I talked about the alien implant remedy, which involves orgone generators. We talked about that quite a bit. So now I'll just kind of go into the conclusion. Last year I regained many of my memories. So this is a recent thing for me, Alfred. This is not like I have known all of this stuff in this presentation for years and years. It just kind of gelled last year. And I regained many of my memories, and I was called out to start making YouTube videos of my experiences of the Intergalactic Resettlement Program so that people could have a choice on how they wanted to prepare for future Earth events. And we are being conditioned by nefarious humans who try to make us afraid of our intergalactic brothers and sisters. Why? Because they bring awareness, knowledge, and ways of being which will correct our current state of affairs. My ET friends are not affiliated with any other group. They are not part of the secret space program or the Intergalactic Federation who negotiates with human rulers. They started out as a rogue group a long time ago, and they have become very well established. They do not have faith in established dystopian world systems, and they want to be here for us as soon as we are ready. And you can't sign up or be put on a wait list. Your money has no meaning here or there. The only way to become involved is to become a finer human being. We must raise our awareness and do the work to clean up our bodies, our minds, and everything else so that we can pull in and hold the higher frequencies necessary for contact and evolution. And we have to become something spiritually valuable. The atmosphere on board the big ships is so safe, loving, and supportive. There is no fear and complete cultural freedom because everyone operates within the love harmonic. And it's really difficult to come back to mainstream reality. And then I just want to say in the last paragraph here, if you want to make contact with ET or participate in the Intergalactic Resettlement Program, take exquisite care of the temple body, raise your vibrational frequency, learn from the Quantum Health Transformation Program, and look into the CE5 movement. So that's it for my screen share. I'm going to click stop sharing now. Is that okay, Alfred?
Oh, of course.
So that puts me back on here with you. And do you have any questions? I couldn't get into it all. We'd be here for 3 hours. It's too much information.
I mean, this is like, we
it's
are
enough,
so,
isn't
I
it?
mean, we're like, I don't know whether this is like speed learning.
It's a lot.
I mean, I'm like, oh.
It's a lot, and it's
see, we perhaps we can go back in time and do this in 3 programs.
Yeah, it is a lot of information. And then, do you have any questions specific to what I said, or do you want me to tell the folks a little bit about what happened with Chris Matthew and I a week ago?
Well, I have, yeah, I mean, put it this way, what you have brought to us is so concentrated. I mean, it's like, oh, and by the way, here is an entirely new part of the cosmos. And you did it sort of in a throwaway line, and it's all about evolving.
Well,
are there any questions is an understatement. Well, I don't know how even to approach this, but I'd like to ask you, functionally, is the Earth close to an extinction level event or an evacuation?
Yeah.
That the program would be here?
Yes and no. Reality is a slippery thing, Alfred, because we're going from a very negative timeline, and the outcome for the negative timeline is an extinction level event, whether it's man-made, whether it's the cosmos, whether it's the planet wanting to evolve to her next level. Yeah, things are actually really critical. But we also have the new positive timeline, and it is their wish for us that we get on board with the positive timeline and we learn how to make our world and our life and our societies peaceful and very paradise-like. That is their wish. And they're giving us the information and the skills and the things we need to know to get on board. But there will be some people who will not want to leave the construct, the security of the matrix. So I don't really know what's good. I don't have the ability to know for sure which timeline's going to win out, but I know that there's more than one timeline going on right now. And so I'm encouraging everyone to get on the new positive timeline, you know, with the emergence of the omniverse. That's what it's, you know, that's what your books are telling us. That's what is emerging now. Now is the time to get on and switch tracks. And so there's even the possibility of two different timelines going off in two different directions, and us experiencing paradise and the others experiencing more of the construct. So I don't have the power to tell you exactly how it's going to be, because everything is in flux right now. Everything is flexible and it depends on us. And so we have to take responsibility for the microcosm within, the body, our health, what we know, our spirituality. And it's not religion. I'm not talking religion. I'm talking about becoming spiritual and being at one with this beautiful, beautiful, alive, conscious planet we live on. How amazing would that be? And there's millions of us who want it and are working towards it. You just don't hear about it. It's still happening. So, on the one hand, yes, we are facing extinction level event, but on the other hand, no, we're not. And I don't know how to answer that any better. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, here is sort of here is what I came up with. And then, yes, after you deal with what I'm going to ask you, let's go on and talk about what you and Chris did.
Okay.
But first, let me ask you this. How would you like to come back and go over the terrain that we just covered, but more slowly and more patiently? Perhaps come back with your full presentation and go through it very, very slowly. You know, even if we have to take a few parts, I really like to go in very, very much in depth into things, because right now, the major question that I came up is, oh, it looks like Earth is really close to an extinction level event or an evacuation, and it looks like we're all on full alert. I mean, and it's very difficult right now to get down into some nitty gritty things.
Yeah.
Because we've all been put on alert.
Oh, okay.
And so what if you come back with your full presentation and we go through it with more, you know, ingrained, and so that we can follow you, not accelerating. I found that when you were skipping over things, my mind just, it's not good for our minds to skip over things. It's really very disruptive.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work for the flow. And that's so valuable information. I mean, this is the Intergalactic Resettlement Program. This is something that is so new to many of our viewers that I think we have to come back in and go very slowly and come in, because this is a new approach and a new thing. We did a program a couple of days ago from the Southern Hemisphere, from Uruguay, where there's a negative interdimensional race, grays in appearance, that are negative in orientation, and they are abducting people through interdimensional portals. And then they're creating clones and who are just walking around and creating kind of a hell on earth and abducting people. And you know, they aren't abducting people up into their ships, they're abducting people into portals that they create in the walls of their homes.
Wow.
So there's a lot of chaos in different places on this planet. And so I want to be able to make sense of on the one hand what you're saying, because you're in the northern hemisphere, and what they're saying. And you know, because I interviewed a survivor from that system there, who's really saying, "Oh, I've survived 5 years of this, and I'm coming here to report this." So, and I'm sure that from the Intergalactic Resettlement Program, we'd be able to understand what that person's report is, so that we can begin to, you know, fully understand. So I would like to invite you, and maybe this is a multi-part series, to really present your material slowly and in parts, that we in sort of in chewable parts,
Sure.
digestible parts.
Sure. I get nervous too, so I kind of go fast when I'm nervous, because I'm new to new to being on YouTube and stuff. So so I always figure people don't want to be, I don't want to bore people, so I move through it.
Bore people? This is the farthest thing from boring people.
I guess I don't think I'm all that important. I just do what I do. But I want to tell you, first of all, yes, I would love to come back and share more. I would also like to say there are many different experiences that happen at different levels and in different places. And so my experiences don't happen in the solar system. They don't happen even necessarily in our galaxy, which is mind-blowingly huge. So I'm able to consciousness transfer absolutely unimaginable distances because of the way it's a long story. It has to do with biophotonic energy, and it's a completely different system. So this intergalactic system is resettlement program is going on, but it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Earth. Whereas your person in South America is all about what's going on Earth. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And the folks from the Intergalactic Resettlement Program don't want to get involved until we're ready. And it's our responsibility to take care of this planet. And it's our responsibility to shift from a negative timeline to a positive timeline. And we have the skills and we have the ability to do that. So that's the kind of takeaway, I guess. I don't want people thinking, oh, when the shit hits the fan, the spaceship's going to come up, we're all going to load on there. No, 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 it doesn't work that way. It's frequency. It's a frequency, spiritually based movement. So they know about me. And they know about my planet, especially when I'm in doing the political work. And what's interesting is I don't have a lot of memories of the political work. I just really know that I'm in a lot of meetings. And it goes on and on and on. And sometimes it's even boring. I don't mean to be rude or anything, but you know, it's just like it's all information exchange at that point. And that's different than when I've actually been on the ship. When I've actually been on different worlds. That's all very different. And I don't go there physically, Alfred. I go there through consciousness. And I don't even know 100% how everything works. All I know is what my experiences are. I didn't even get to tell you about the ship. The ship is incredible. I didn't get to tell you how we jump. Like most of the ships are pretty stationary, and but when we jump, it's really great. Oh my God. Okay, I just gotta tell you. Can I just tell you how we jump? It's so great. How we jump to a different area. Say we want to go to a different dimensional reality, or we want to go to a different quadrant of the galaxy or a different galaxy. We don't drive there. You don't start the engines and travel through space. That's not how we do it. We do it through consciousness. It's a consciousness-based movement. And literally what we do is, it's very interesting. What we do is the day of, well, first of all, the ships are alive. The second thing is they're conscious. We're integrated into that conscious system. Then the day of, we all take it easy and we relax and we become contemplative. We eat very little. We, when it's time for the jump, there's a sort of a tone that we all hear. And we all just take our places wherever we're comfortable, in groups or in private quarters, wherever we want. And we just go into a very deep meditative state. And somehow, the ship, which gets its energy from us as well, it's sort of almost a symbiotic kind of relationship. But we just go into this meditative state. And then there's another tone when we have relocated and we're there. We don't go anywhere. I don't know how it's done. It's done through consciousness. And it's a very, very spiritual program. And it's got spirituality, but it's also got responsibility. And they don't enable people, or beings or worlds. They want the worlds, the people, to wake up and change it for themselves. So they want us to create paradise here on Earth, which I believe we are, because we're going through the positive timeline. So yeah, it's been a lot for me to organize the information, and it's been it's just an enormous amount of work. But it's also a lot for me to trust that this is a real thing, because it took me years to kind of shake in my head, just keep going with it. But now I'm meeting other people who are having very similar experiences, and that makes it really nice, And so I just, if it's okay, just get into what happened with Chris. So Chris Matthew from Forbidden Knowledge News, he's never had a paranormal experience in his life, ever. He started Forbidden Knowledge News because he was very curious about everything, curious about all the taboo subjects and all the things that we don't know. And he was just curious. And that's actually how I met him. I was on his show. I've been on his show a few times. And he had a profound paranormal experience last week, where he was contacted by an Arcturian archangel, and it blew his mind. Of course, he contacted me and said, Karen, can you help me with this? Because this is blowing my mind. And he'll be the first one to admit that he kind of didn't believe in all this stuff. Like, he would listen to my experiences and stuff and go, oh, that's very nice. But he had no basis in his own reality for anything to put faith in. So he's always been kind of a skeptic and a debunker. So anyway, he gets contacted on Saturday, but he's pretty kind of shook up by the whole experience. He doesn't tell me a lot, just that, I can't believe I met an ET. I can't believe it. I really did, Karen, and this is what it was like and everything. And it was just like, he wasn't making any sense. I says, Chris, call me back tomorrow and tell me the whole story. He says, okay, I'll do that. That night, I go to sleep. I end up on a big ship. I see him communicating with his new buddy. His buddy's name is Laird, L-A-I-R-D. I don't want to tell you too much, because you should hear the story from him. Last night, which is the 20th of August, if your viewers want to go to YouTube and look up Forbidden Knowledge News, and they'll see that there was a special presentation with myself and Chris, and he tells his story on there, and you can hear his story. It's pretty amazing. And then what came of it, so anyway, then on I forget, Monday or Tuesday, he had another experience, and he got taken to the ship, and he got to see all these other beings, and it just blew him away, because suddenly he's going, oh my God, this is real. And snap, 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 all these experiences he's heard about, and it just blew his mind. So then, I don't know if it was the next day or the day after, another contact experience, and this time he was very, very ill. And he kind of said, why don't you help me? You're real. Why don't you help me, make me feel better? And they said, oh, because Chris, you know how to do that for yourself. And Chris says, no, I don't. Listen, yes, you do. Meditate. So anyway, you should hear the story from Chris. It's really quite lovely. So anyway, he ended up completely curing something that normally has him in really rough shape for a number of days. He didn't know he had healing ability. He didn't know any of this. He's actually progressing a lot faster than what I've been progressing. So, but he's really happy that he's kind of, him and I are, you know, sharing information, and I'm being a support person for him. So he got really clear instructions from Laird that we have to tell people about what's going on. We have to help create the new timeline. And I said, oh, I know just the man who knows about that. So I told him about you, Alfred, and your books and the information that you've shared with me and with the viewers. And he said, well, we have to do something, because we have to change the timeline. There's not much time left. Like, this is really getting critical. We have to change the timeline. And Laird told me to contact you. And I just thought it was so interesting that he got confirmation of my experiences from his guides, and then I got confirmation that his experience was real through my guides. So I actually am not familiar with the kind of common ETs people talk about. Like, I'm not familiar with Arcturians or Anunnaki or reptilians. That's not my area. I don't know. And there's a lot of other people who are brilliant in those areas. And why try to redo what they're already doing perfectly brilliantly already? So I don't know about those. But he did mention Arcturian. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that looked like. But the being I saw him communicating was tall, had a long neck, was bald, and was blue. But I didn't tell him that, because I thought he knew what he looked like. So anyway, the time he went up onto the ship, that's when he actually saw Laird, his new guide. And he said, because I'd asked him, I said, is Laird bald? Does he have hair? Like, I wanted to know if what I had seen was real too, right? We're always trying to get confirmation, because it's so unbelievable what we're experiencing. So he says, yeah, he's tall. And I said, okay, I'm going to look on the internet for a picture of I don't know, a stereotypical or an artist's rendition of what an Arcturian looks like, and sent it to him. I sent it to him. He said, oh my God, when I looked at that picture, he said, I was right back on the ship. That looked so much like my guide. And I said, well, that's who I saw you talking to, well, not talking with words, but communicating with on Saturday night. And he said, no way, there's no way you could have known that. I said, I saw it. So now I was able to say that I witnessed what he's saying is true, and his guides are what they've told him, and that we need to proceed with the quantum health transformation and anything else. And we need to, you know, call people out and tell them that their experience might be real, and there's things we can do about this. So we did a show last night together. He was so scared, because I'm telling you, he comes from a background that's pretty enmeshed in the construct, and he's never had anything like this happen to him, and it just blew his mind. So anyway, last night when we're on there, we're talking about, oh yeah, and him and I talked before the show, and we both agreed, our guides say, you're not to start a cult, you're not to start an organization, there's no place for people to sign up. They don't need external experts. What people need is to have their experience validated, and to go inside, to learn to go inside, so we actually can access outer space through inner space. So he got the same information. We were on the same page. So we told them, people, that last night, his viewers. We also told them about your work, and that you're the Earth exopolitical ambassador from Earth to the groups. Although we have our experiences with the groups, we're not, ambassadorship can be many different things. Like for me, it's kind of trying to get their heads wrapped around our culture and the way we think and what we've been through. Chris is something different, but what you're doing, so we're wanting to sort of be in contact with you in case you get any recommendations. So anyway, I also told people about your books, and I said, you know, that really recommended that they buy and read The Emergence of the Omniverse so that they could get a nice, clear idea of what that means and what's going on. And oh my God, ever since then, we've had so many messages and emails, and we got over 40 comments, at least the last time I looked at it. People are saying, oh my God, we have been experiencing what you talk about, but we thought we were crazy, or we thought that we were imagining it, or we just didn't want to deal with it because we didn't know where to go or what to do with it. So Chris and I are now putting together a program, and we told people we're not going to do the work for you, but we will tell you what our guides are telling us to share with humankind so that people can pick up what resonates for them out of what we're offering and can help change to the new positive timeline. And it's like I told people, I said, you know, people want to fix this old broken timeline. Just jump ship to the new timeline. Spend time every day thinking about what does paradise mean to you? What kind of world do you want to live in? And then think about it and flesh it out in your own imagination, because that's part of our creative power. That's how we bring in things that don't exist yet into our timeline and make it real. So why not just throw the other one out as much as possible, depending on your circumstances, and start focusing on the new timeline. What do you want to see in the new timeline? And it is my belief that if enough of us come on board with the new timeline, because we can all agree on paradise, we may not agree on where we want to live or who we want our neighbors to be, but we can sure all agree on paradise, what that means to us. And so that's what we're bringing out to the world. So I guess we're going to end up with a call-in show so that people can call in and say, this happened to me and this happened to me, so we can validate people's experiences. Now, as far as the horrible things that are also going that involve interdimensionals, and I don't know if, there's overlap between ET, interdimensionals, all different groups. There's all kinds of nefarious energies and things like that. And so I'm not qualified to speak on that. But I will say I never doubt anyone's experience. Never. I would never doubt anyone's experience. But I'm saying those experiences, like what's going on in South America, I haven't had those experiences. So I'm doing a different kind of work here. And I think there's room for all of us to come together, in unity and in mutual respect, and to take the baby steps or the big steps, depending what we're ready for, to become more peaceful and more healthier and happier and have more joy and have all these things that we want to anchor in on the new timeline. And so that's sort of where it's going. So everything we do, I'm going to actually make sure I have a simple link. I can't put all your links, but I want to have, maybe you could pick out your 3 most important links that we can have in our description boxes below so people know where to contact you. You can buy your book or books, actually. I think people should buy all of them and read them all. And anything else that's coming into the stream that's beneficial. And it doesn't matter who created it or who thought of it or what it's about. If it's something that's going to help humanity, we're all for doing that. So that's sort of the gist. Yeah. And I'm sorry I went too fast over my presentation. To me, because I've experienced so much of it, it's hard for me to slow down and bring it back down to the root level, the grassroots level, which is where it's supposed to actually be, is in the grassroots level. But I'm willing to come back and do it again or do some more.
This is great. This is great. So let me just run something by you.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of the Intergalactic Resettlement Program, it seems to me that it could also be called the Intergalactic Activation Program, because it seems like you're going into planets and you're like this one and you're activating them. Because what you have here is, let's say that there is a large percentage of the benevolent human soul population here that is either I, just awakening, B, you know, in a kind of a stasis or a sleep. They're just being so bombarded with the programming of the negative timeline, with the pandemic, with the negative programming, you know, war, disease, crime, and poverty, and disempowerment. That's what the matrix does here, that they're put into this kind of stasis, so that what you need is an intergalactic activation program to come here and to activate people, and that's what you're doing. And so I experienced in this past hour and a half that we've been here, activation. And I've been pondering all this time, why is this intergalactic resettlement? That seemed like you'd be coming here to take humans and resettle them over here, when we've got a perfectly wonderful planet here
exactly.
that is being stolen by a minority selfish elite. Well, let's get rid of that elite and let's activate the good souls. And that's what we need, is an intergalactic activation program. So what I'm saying is, let's call on the ship, you know, guy here. We need, hey, activation. To activate the, you know, however many billion good souls there are here, to activate them and to like throw off, you know, all this dross that we have that's trying to take us down. Well, this has been an extraordinary introduction that you've given us to the Intergalactic Activation Resettlement Program. And I hope you don't mind my throwing in the word activation, but somehow that's what comes to my mind.
I don't mind, because it actually has morphed into that. Now, the Intergalactic Resettlement Program, as I was involved in it, didn't necessarily involve Earth. This is all kinds of worlds. I don't even know where
I
they
understand.
are.
I understand.
But I've been called from last year to start coming public, because that is the activation. Now, Chris has been activated. You're activated. Cosmic Ray Keller has been activated. There's so many of us been activated. And so now what we're doing is we're going public, and the people, the viewers that are watching this are going, oh my God, I had an experience like that. So many people. I don't even know what to do with all the letters and stuff coming in. I'm going to have to figure out what the next step is. And so what's happening is these people are now going, yes, I'm going to grab my sovereignty. I'm going to work towards the new positive timeline. I'm going to buy Alfred's book. I'm going to try the quantum health transformation program and see if, you know, because we're being poisoned, literally our food, our personal care products. There really isn't much the Construct offers that is for peace, harmony, love, health, none of that, you know?
Yeah.
And so we're offering ways. So we're going to, I'm not sure, I'll keep you posted to let you know exactly what our next step is. And I got to say, Chris is still coming to terms with what's happened. Yeah. This is a mind-blowing experience, and
sure,
he's going to need a few weeks.
We're in a time-space hologram, so everything is taking place in time, and depending where you are in that time-space hologram, when it goes forward. Incidentally, while I'm thinking of it, it's very easy. All of the Omniverse books can be found at universebooks.com. And if you go to universebooks.com, there are 5 different places that you can find the emergence of the Omniverse.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, but they're all gathered there at universebooks.com. And
Universe, not universal.
No, Universe Books.
Got it.
Universebooks.com. And
Books.
that's the place to find all
of
those books. But as I said, I would like to invite you back so that we can begin to explore this positive timeline and this is, I mean, you and Chris are working on one thing. I would like to roll out your presentation and to ask you to roll out your presentation and see how that rolls out and see where that leads. Because, and how does that sound?
Oh, wonderful. I'd love to.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So let's be in contact and schedule a next part. Very, very good. In the meantime, where can people get in touch with you and with your work?
Okay, I have a website. I operate mostly out of my website, which is www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, and that's KarenHolton healthcoach.com. I'm a different kind of health coach. And also my YouTube channel is Karen Holton TV. Also, if anybody wants their own copy of my complete presentation, it's still available at Forbidden Knowledge. It's forbiddenKnowledge.news/shop/. And what it is Chris has it arranged that people can buy conference packages. So my presentation is included in the day 4 package. It's only $6.99 for the whole day. So you get Laura Eisenhower's presentation, you get my presentation, and you get some presentations from some other people. But you get the whole thing. You get to download it if you want it, ahead of time before I come back and speak more about it. But there's also quite a few videos that I have published on my YouTube channel about it, and then of course the Forbidden Knowledge News is on YouTube, and also Chris is having built right now his own independent platform, so that we don't have to worry about censorship, and we can talk freely about these things. So that's basically it. People can contact me through my website. I'm available on Facebook and social media. I'm pretty easy to find. You can Google me and probably quite a bit of content comes up. And I'm going to very soon add to my website this full presentation broken down maybe into 3 parts. This is an awful lot of information. There's just no way you even want to listen to 3 hours of that or 2 hours of it. It's quite me speaking quickly, it would take at least 2 hours to tell you the whole presentation. But I'm going to have it in a PDF format available through my website very soon, broken down into maybe three sections, so that people can have it and read it and think about it and do what they want with it. So that's about it.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. You are a great surprise. Every time that you come on, it's a great surprise that happens, I must say so.
Well,
so thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to take that as a compliment. Thank you. And thank you so much, Alfred. And thank you for your work, because really you've inspired us to come out and activate. So now we're going to activate this new timeline like crazy. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. Okay. Until soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.